Why enemies in games are so dumb? In 2005, a game called F.E.A.R came out, and its enemy AI was nothing short of astonishing. Soldiers flanked you, used cover intelligently, and even communicated with each other mid-combat. It felt like playing against real people. And yet, 20 years later, we have this. So what happened? Why is AI in games still so bad? Okay, let's imagine you are a game developer and you want to create really badass AI. In order to justify this decision, 3 questions must be answered. First, is it even technologically possible? Yes, in fact, it's been possible for a long time. 2 decades ago, games like Half-Life 2 and aforementioned F.E.A.R were already doing things that, in many ways, still outperform the AI scene in modern AAA games. Half-Life 2's AI system may not have been flashy, but it was functional and adaptive. Enemies used cover, flanked the player, and responded to environmental stimuli. Combined soldiers weren't just bullet sponges, they reacted with semi-realistic tactics, thanks to behavior trees and scripted logic that prioritized line of sight, weapon type, and squad dynamics. The game's codebase can even be found online, showing how such logic can be implemented without brute force processing power. Then again, there's F.E.A.R, which took things further with its goal-oriented action planning system. The system didn't just run enemies down a decision tree, instead it treated them like little thinkers. Each one had a goal, and the AI dynamically built plans to achieve it. If cover was nearby, it took it. If it was being flanked, it adjusted. You weren't fighting a dumb soldier, you were fighting an adaptable combatant. But let's look beyond video games, and that's where things get even more interesting. In 1997, DeepBlue beat the world chess champion Garry Kasparov. And even though that machine was limited to calculating deterministic outcomes, still it dominated a game that's remained mentally challenging for centuries. In 2016, AlphaGo crushed the world's best Go player, Lee Sedol, arguably in an even more complex game. AlphaGo used deep neural networks and reinforcement learning to teach itself strategies no human had ever seen. It may be counterintuitive, but video games are not that different from chess and Go. Because, if you think about it, what is a video game really? It's a set of rules, defined inputs and outputs. You have a game world, a player with known actions, and a system that reacts to those actions. In essence, it's just a more visual, real-time version of chess or Go. And AI doesn't need to simulate human emotion or consciousness to be good at games. It just needs to make reasonable decisions within a structured system. And thanks to advances in reinforcement learning, self-play, and imitation learning, we now have methods that allow AI to not just exist in game spaces, but dominate them. Take OpenAI 5, the Dota 2 playing engine that taught itself to play competitively by playing millions of games against itself. Or DeepMind's AlphaStar, which learned to play Starcraft 2 at a grandmaster level. These are real-time strategies with fog of war, imperfect information, multi-agent management, far more complex than most single-player shooter AIs. So at this point, it's not a question of can we build great AI, we just don't. And that leads us to the next big question. Even if we can, do players actually want it? Now, you might assume that players don't actually want smart AI. After all, we all love to win, right? Why would someone want to be outsmarted by a computer? But here's the twist. Over the last decade, players have repeatedly shown they do crave challenge, even brutal, unforgiving challenge. Look at the rise of Souls-like games. What was once a niche is now practically a genre standard. Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring, these games are known for crushing difficulty and uncompromising combat. You die, you learn, you get better, and when you finally win, you feel like a god. What's more important is that this demand isn't isolated to a single genre. In shooters, tactical challenge has never been more popular. Counter-Strike 2, Valorant, Rainbow Six Siege, these aren't casual run-and-gun games. They're methodical, punishing, and rely on reading opponents, managing information, and making tight decisions under pressure. These games thrive because the players are forced to think like tacticians. So the demand is there, not just for challenge, but for intelligent challenge. Whether it's learning from failure in Souls games, adapting in competitive shooters, or surviving a dynamic open world, players want to be tested, and smart AI could provide that. But again, the question stands, if we can build better AI, and players want the kind of gameplay it enables, why aren't more developers doing it? That leads us to the final and maybe most important question. Does it even make sense? And here's where the paradox kicks in. Because yes, we can build good AI. And yes, there is demand for challenging smart opponents. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right design choice. The truth is, fighting an AI that is genuinely better than you, not just stronger but strategically superior, isn't fun. It's frustrating. When you lose to another human in Valorant, there's unpredictability. You can learn from their habits, you can adapt. But when you lose to an AI that has no ego, no flaws, and no off days, when it knows the optimal move every time, you don't feel like you're growing. You feel like you're banging your head against the wall. And that's exactly what happened. After DeepBlue and its successors, people stopped trying to beat chess engines. Today, we use them as tools, not opponents. The same thing happened with AlphaGo, OpenAI 5 and AlphaStar. It was fun while humans had a chance, but when it became unbeatable, it just became pointless. And that's the key point I'm trying to make here. Games are not simulations of fairness, they're experiences. And when you put a player against perfect machine, the experience stops feeling like a game and starts feeling like a torture. That's why most AIs in modern games are intentionally dumbed down. They miss shots on purpose. They expose themselves in ways no human would. They behave just smart enough to be believable, not so that they dominate. Because ultimately, games are about emotional engagement. They're about tension, release, discovery, mastery, not just optimal decisions. Think about Souls-like games again. The bosses are not smart. They follow tightly scripted patterns, but they feel interesting. They surprise you. They punish every mistake you make. And when you overcome them, it's not because they let you win, it's because you learn the dance. And game designers understood that it's better to simulate intelligence just enough to maintain immersion, while keeping the player in control of the fantasy. So yes, AI in games is often bad, but maybe that's okay, because games aren't about realism, they're about fun. And in the end, AI doesn't need to be smarter, it just needs to make us feel something. And if you felt something during this video, please leave it a like, smash that subscribe button, or even support this channel for just €1 per month. That will really help me to keep going and produce quality content for you. On that note, I want to thank you for your time and wish you smart, but not too smart opponents. Bye bye.